Today I'm just going to start your chapter that is from your social studies, that is from history part, that is chapter 1, advance of the Europeans into India, as I have already explained in the classes some parts, but as a revision, yes, we are continuing with the chapter again. Okay, now as I have explained you in the class that the Indians or the Britishers or any other foreigners, they did not come directly into India, they came one after the another. Okay, now what is the history of India? Actually we have to know first of all. Now the history of India is that India in olden days was a very rich country, okay, with all the wealth and riches which was abundant in India. But till now, as we know that this wealth and resources were being looted by some of the foreign rulers. Not only the Britishers but many other foreign rulers were also there who has looted us in every sphere of our life. Now here, first of all, let's know the history of India. Now, history of India, it means that India, as it was a very wealthy country, now all the foreigners were very much interested, okay, to earn trades or profits in India. And as a result, we find that some of the Arab rulers, okay, those who were conquering one land after the another to earn their profits or to conquer new lands, at that time the Arabs were very popular, okay, in conquering new lands. Now the Arabs and the Turks, okay, when they came conquering one land after the another, they came into India, and they found that when they found that India was a land of luxury and we can find a wealth, they found that they should stop, okay, they should stop the communication of India with any other foreigners. For that reason, what they did is that they have closed down some of the routes, okay, routes means through which any other foreigners can enter into India. Now those routes were being closed down by the Arabs, okay, for their wealth profits. But we find that some foreigners were very cunning, okay, as a fox we can say, that they want to earn profit from India in any way they can, means any way they find, okay. In that time there were no aeroplanes, there were no airways, okay, there were no waterways, there was no roadways, there was only way through carts and bullocks. Yes, now the way through carts and bullocks were used are, we can say, as a roadway, a land route. It is a, we call it as a land, we don't call it as a road, okay, we call it as a land route. Now those land routes that were being closed down by the Arabs, now any other foreigners wanted to enter India, they have no other alternative, okay. But we find that at that time there were some foreigners, okay, who were very expert in conquering or discovering new routes, okay. Now there was no airways, okay, there was no aeroplane at that time, it was not so much advanced, the world was not so much advanced at that time. But there was one other alternative way in order to move from one place to another, and that was nothing but the waterways, okay. Waterways at that time was also not discovered, but there were some Portuguese sailor, okay, some Portuguese sailor, they were the pioneer. Pioneer means those who advanced or they were very expert in inventing new things. Now this pioneer, they discovered new waterways, okay, from Portugal till South Africa for the first time, okay. But this person, the Portuguese sailor Bartolomeu Dias, he was the person who discovered a new sea route, means through the waterways from Portugal till South Africa, but he did not extend it more. But later on, after how many years, we can say that later on after 10 years, we find another Portugal sailor, okay, he tried to discover new route from Portugal till South Africa, then from South Africa till India. And finally we find that Vasco da Gama, all of us, we know, we have already heard about Vasco da Gama, right? Now Vasco da Gama, he was the first Portuguese sailor who had come from Portugal till South Africa, and from South Africa, and finally he had reached India and stopped at a place near we call it as a Calicut port, okay, it is in Western Ghat of India, okay. Now this place, he found that this was the first sea route, or we can say this was the first port, okay, which was invented at that time by the Portuguese, and that place was called as Calicut, okay. Now after this, let's move, after that history, let's move to the advance of Europeans now. Europeans, what do you think? Europeans, are they only the Britishers? No, they are a combination of different countries. Yes, Europe is a combination of different countries, Portugal, French, many other things. Okay, now we find that it was not only the British that entered into India, okay, and ruled us, but there were many others, or not many others, but we can say two more foreigners were there. There were Portuguese. So after the Portuguese, the French were there, and after that we find that finally the Britishers came. But the Britishers were so expert and so cunning that they drove away, they sent back this Portuguese and French, and finally they established their own colonial rule in India. They were so much cunning. And let's see now what steps they had taken, okay, what steps they had taken to fix their strong power or hold upon the land of India. Now at that time we find that when the Portuguese sailor came to India and they earned profit from some of the ports, that is Sumatra, Java and Molucca, some of the places near the Deccan plateaus, okay, some of the coastal areas, we find that these Portuguese people, they were earning a lot of profit. By seeing the Portuguese, another group of foreigners, they also tried to enter India, and they were the French people, okay. Now the French people and the Portuguese, they all together were earning profit at that time. This news of earning profits by the foreigners got into the ears of the Britishers. Now these Britishers, they were very eager to enter into India, and for that reason they have to seek permission from their ruler, okay, from their land. And what they did, they brought a letter from their land that who was ruling their country at that time. It was a king or a queen, because we find that at that time Britain was a monarchical country, means a king or a queen was the head of the country. Whatever decision the king or the queen takes, they have to agree with that. Now here in 1608 we find that King James was the king at that time, James the First. Okay. Now at that time we find that Captain William Hawkins, okay, he took a letter from the king and came to the court of Jahangir to have a business or to trade in India. But at that time Jahangir rejected the offer, and as a result he has to return back to his own land. And after that, from 1608 till 1615, there were no Britishers. Okay. Now from 1615 again another person came. Okay, that is another person came that is seeking permission again from the taking letter from the King James, and to ask permission from the King Jahangir in order to earn the profit, or in order to have a business, in order to start a business in India. But this time also he was rejected. But in the second effort, we find that the king allowed them to establish a residence. You know what is a residence? A residence is a place where we live in. Okay. Now, in the second step, we find, or we can say in the second term, we find that King Jahangir had rejected their offer of having business, but they allowed them to establish a residence where he can enjoy, or we can say look into the administration of the Mughal administration in India. Am I clear? Now this from 1608 to 1615 there was no permission given by any Mughal emperor. But after this we find that after we can say after 100 years, okay, the Britishers another attempt of entering into India. At this time we find in 1715, okay, John Surman, okay, he entered into India and met the Mughal emperor, that is the Farrukh Shah, in 1713 till 1719 when he was ruling, okay, and he offered a new proposal. At that time there was an incident happened. We find that suddenly the king fell sick and nobody was there to cure him. Okay, at that time, the Sir John Surman, who was a medical expert also, we can say, he has some knowledge in the medical field. He was the person who was there at the court of the Mughal emperor, we find that he got an opportunity to cure the king, who was very who was very much fever, or sorry, he was sick at that time, and nobody was there to cure him. He got an opportunity to cure this Mughal emperor, and as a result, when the Mughal emperor got better, and again he started to rule the court, this time we find that this Mughal emperor Farrukh Shah, he allowed, this time in 1715, he allowed the Britishers to do business in India in their third attempt. The first attempt they were rejected, second attempt in 1615 they were rejected, but this time in 1715 they got no resignation, but they got allowance to trade in India. But they have to pay some taxes in amount of money. Okay, what amount of money it was? It was 3,000 per annum. We can say that per yearly they have to pay 3,000 rupees to the emperor as a tax of doing business in India. And slowly and steadily we find that in this way the Britishers took a whole step, or we can say they try to put a hold, or we can say hold the administration of the Indian land. Now here we find it accordingly, when the Britishers entered in India, they did not enter as a ruler. Okay, they were as a company. Okay, at that time the name of the company through which the Britishers entered into India was the East India Company. Okay, now this East India Company, first of all, they founded their first trade center at Masulipatam. Masulipatam in 1600. Please do remember the names and the date. Okay, the first trade center was established in Masulipatam in 1611. Here the difference is there. We find that some of the Masulipatam was the time when they were not given the permission by the king. Okay, but the center was there because some of the foreigners came and entered. And here also a second trade center that was in Armagao in 1639 is also before 1715 when they got the permission. Yes, this was a time when they established their trade centers, but they were not allowed to have any trade. Okay, just don't get confused. Okay, in 1608 they tried an attempt, but they were rejected. Secondly, in 1615, okay, they came, but they were rejected. Yes, for the first time when they entered, they established their first center at Masulipatam in 1611. In 1611, don't forget it. Okay, and second time when they came in 1615, okay, they established the second trade center, that is Armagao, in 1636. Okay, in this way we find that Armagao is a place nearby Madras. Madras means the present Chennai. Okay, and it was named as Fort St. George. Okay, from that time Bombay became the headquarters of the Britishers, or the British Company in India. Okay, this is all. But now we find that after Bombay, slowly and steadily the Britishers tried to expand their business. Okay, in this way, now from Bombay they tried to attempt the land of Calcutta. In this way, we find that when they attempted Calcutta, they brought 3 lands or provinces under their control, and that name was Kalighata, that is the present Kolkata, then Satunuti and Govindapur. Altogether, these 3 places became the town of Calcutta later on. Okay, this was the place where the Britishers made their second attempt of trade, because Calcutta was also near the coastal area. Okay, and through which they can have their business properly. After Bombay, Calcutta, okay, then Chennai, that is Madras. Okay, 3 places they have occupied for their trade centers. Now here at that time, this East India Company has a great or very clever person named as Robert Clive. If you have heard or gone through the historical channels and all, Robert Clive is a very famous one. Okay, now Robert Clive, we find in his story also. Now we can say that when you go for a history, the Robert Clive, the doings or the events of Robert Clive in India was very famous, because Robert Clive was the person, okay, he was an ordinary servant of the East India Company, but later on he took as the Viceroy or the Governor General of India, or we can say the British India. He was the person who was mainly responsible for making the Britishers the permanent ruler of India, who ruled India for about 200 years. Okay, Robert Clive has the most initiative of making the Britishers the permanent ruler of India for about 200 years. Okay, we'll study in next. Now, slowly and steadily, we find this Robert Clive, who was an ordinary servant as a simple employee of the East India Company. He tried to expand the trade, or we can say they expand the business of the East India Company slowly and steadily. Okay, but we find that some of the rulers, we find that all the lands of India are mostly not the Mughals, was not under the Mughals. Nawab were also, some of were under the princely states also. Now, what is his main aim? To bring all the princely states under his control. And accordingly, we find that the Nawab of Bengal, the Nizam of Hyderabad, Nawab of Oudh, King of Rajputana, many other, okay, they became a friend, or we can say that he made all these kings his friends so that he can earn profit from their land or can do free business in their land. Accordingly, we find that all these princely states came under the company's rule. Okay, now this is all. After this, we find that there is a little queue, and when you go through the chapter, you will come across. Now, after this, let's go next to the company's rule. Okay, now company's rule, we find that when Robert Clive has done all this, there was a second time when Robert Clive got the position of Governor Generalship. Okay, he became the owner, or we can say one of the important member of the company in India. Now here is all. Here in his rule, we find that there was a system of dual government. Okay, in Bengal. Means dual government. What do you mean by when we dual and bi? Dual government means two types of government. Okay, dual government started in Bengal, in which we find that some important decisions of the land was being taken by the company, and some minor aspects of the land was given to the kings. Okay, they were not so smart. The kings or the Nawabs at that time were not so smart. Okay, that's why they agreed in whatever new rules, okay, this company has taken up were being accepted by the Nawabs, or we can say the kings, princely states. Okay, now in this we find that Robert Clive started a dual system of government in Bengal. This is one. Another one, we find that after this we find that the Pitch India government, and there are many steps. Okay, the government has tried to occupy the power. Accordingly, the dual system was established in Bengal in 1765. Then here, after Lord Robert Clive, another person, Governor General, came, that is in that we call it as Warren Hastings. Okay, we find that he introduced new regulating act of 1773. We find that according to Warren Hastings, we find that the person who was the ruler, or we can say who was the who has the power in Bengal, will also have the power in Bombay, and also will have the power in Madras. Okay, these three centers came under the control of one person, that is Sir Warren Hastings. Okay, by the regulating act. When you come across in your future studies, you will be studying about acts and all. Okay, it will be clear. Acts means a type of agreement or a rule, okay, which was imposed. Now, accordingly, a regulating act was introduced in 1773, through which Bombay, Calcutta and Madras came under one control. Okay, these steps were being taken. This is what. Now, all this, we find that Calcutta, Bombay and Madras were on three sides of India, isn't it? Now, when these three sides covering the middle part, we find that these three parts will be stronger, obviously, yes or no? Now, the Indians who were somehow literate, means some people are literate who have studied the knowledge of books and all, they came to know about the rule, or the curiosity of the Britishers that were ruling India. They started to know how foreigners are now slowly and steadily started ruling over them. In this way, some of the people, sepoy, okay, or we can say some of the armies, okay, that have joined some of the Indians, those who have joined the British armies, okay, they came to know about the motive behind the East India Company. For that reason, we find that some of the Indian armies, those who were under the British Company, they started to revolt against the British rule in India. And the revolt of these armies, Indian armies who was under the British rule, when they revolted against the British rule in India, that revolt came to be known as the Sepoy Mutiny of, we can say Sepoy Mutiny 1856. Okay, this is a very important event in the history of India. From this time only, when the Sepoy Mutiny took place in 1857, we find that the Sepoy Mutiny was totally being crushed down by the Britishers, because we find that the Britishers have improved way of weapons, okay, how to attack the Indians, okay. For that reason, we find that the Sepoy Mutiny, the first revolt of the Indians against the Britishers, were totally unsuccessful, and they came under the direct rule of the British rule. This is what we can say. This is the first rising revolt of the Indians, starting from the Sepoy Mutiny in 1857. Okay. Now, when we see about the Sepoy Mutiny, we came across the Indian films. Have you heard of Mangal Pandey and Ishwar Chandra Pandey, Mangal Pandey? Yes, all these are related with Sepoy Mutiny. Okay, at the time of 1856-57. Okay, there is not so much explanation. Now, let's see about the results now. What happened when the Sepoy Mutiny took place? Okay, this is what for this video. I'll just stop here for today. Let's continue with the rest of the chapter in my next video, which will be starting from the results of the Sepoy Mutiny in my next video. Okay, thank you.
Stay home, stay safe, do it for self, live for family, live for India, respect the change of COVID-19. हम होंगे कामयाब। जय हिंद।